let's talk about it from the Wizards standpoint. And you get a KCP, you get Kyle Kuzma and Montrezl Harrell. I think the most interesting pickup here is the Kyle Kuzma thing, and we've been talking about it a lot. Kuzma and I think one of my favorite social media pages, basketball wise, is Ball Don't Stop's page. If y'all don't follow Ball Don't Stop, go follow him, go watch his podcast. His takes on basketball are dope as hell to me. But he made the point, and Kyle Kuzma actually retweeted him saying everything in the NBA is situational. Kyle Kuzma was the victim of being in a tough situation. Yeah, he got a ring, but he went from being the second option offensively in LA when, maybe not the second option, but he went from being like the second. Yeah, but he was probably the second best player on that team. Like maybe Ingram was a higher priority offensively, but he was a better player as a Laker, and he went from that to having a bench role. And Carl mentioned a lot. His shooting form changed a lot, so he had to kind of adjust to that. But he was in a very, very weird situation in LA, and a lot of people gave him flack. And sure, he made some questionable plays. But if your role is drastically changed like that, and you're a young guy in Los Angeles, it's gonna be tough for you to be the super efficient player. Like asking him to do the stuff he's doing is like that stuff veterans do for most of the time. Taking a step back from being like a star level or almost a star level player and now coming off the bench. So how beneficial do you guys think this trade is for Washington or for Kyle Kuzma for his development?
I'm going to start off with Kyle Kuzma.
Mm-hmm.
This is great for him.
Mm-hmm.
This is great for him. He's out of LA. He's out of the Western Conference and in the Eastern Conference. I don't want to say the Eastern Conference is sweeter than that, but it's the Eastern Conference. It's a fresh start, and I think he's going to thrive.
Yeah.
He should have a starting role.
100%.
He should, because I really can't see anybody else on that roster being starting over him.
They're really undermanned, right? Oh Lord, we didn't have a point guard. We got Ish Smith.
Yeah. He's decent. He's pretty solid though.
I think this is going to be a breakout year for him.
I
really do. Yeah. I don't know. My only thing is like I think he's a pretty good young player, but I don't know if he's one of them type of good players that can help you on a championship team. Like I think he can be good on a bad team. Like I know that sounds stupid, but I think he can only be good on teams that's bad. Well, I see like if he makes if they make the playoffs in the next couple of years, and I see he's progressing, but I don't.
Yeah,
probably not gonna happen. But I think he can only be a good player on a bad team instead of a good championship team. That's just
I think anybody can be a good player on a championship team. Your question is, could he be a first or a second on a championship team? And I think he can definitely be a second on a championship team. He has a championship too. Like it wasn't like he was that much of an asset to the Lakers during that finals run, but still. But I definitely, as Blake mentioned, this is perfect for him. Washington should rebuild. I'm 100% with. We can kind of go into that conversation, but I'm 100% with trading away Bradley Beal before you pretty much lose him for nothing next offseason. He's going to be a free agent. There's no way you're going to build a championship contender this season. You know what I'm saying? There's just no way it's going to happen. So move him out before you lose him for nothing. Build up as much draft capital and young talent as possible and put yourself into a position, to where you're developing a bunch of young players and they can get a lot. Like you talk about them having two of some of the biggest contracts in the league, you should be able to get a ton of great assets back for it. So I definitely think this is great for Kuzma's development. He's under a young head coach too. I do think obviously he's going to be much more of a priority offensively. And we know he's a guy who's going to thrive when the ball's in his hands a lot more. When his number was called and when he was asked to be a starter, when he was asked to have a bigger role in LA, we saw how that looked. He looked 10 times better, and 10 times more confident. So he was definitely the victim of being in a tough situation. I think he's going to strive in Washington for sure. What do you guys think the direction is now for the Wizards? Like, should it be go ahead and move Bradley Beal around, or let's try to develop something around him? Like, I just don't think. I mean, y'all saw my thoughts on it. I don't think there's anything. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think they really should trade Bradley Beal. Like, I don't just imagine him scoring 30 points per game. You can get a lot for him.
Yeah.
And just build that Torres. But you can also build, because he's not like a super young player, but he's still young enough to matter. But I'm just saying, like, I guess you can choose. I guess it looks like they're going to choose to build around him and get young players.
Yeah.
But I would personally trade him and start fresh where I can get like some number one picks potentially, do the lottery, you never know, and stuff like that, and start young and fresh, because that's the best thing to do, because basically he just going to keep scoring 30. I don't even know why he would want to stay there. You just go keep scoring 30 and losing.
Yeah.
What, he 27? He 27 now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
And keep in mind, he's a free agent next summer, and I mean, from everything I'm reading, he wants to stay in Washington like a lot. So I don't.
That's what I was about to say. I
Yeah.
mean, he's repeatedly said, "I want to stay in Washington. I want to stay in Washington."
Yeah.
So, I mean, what can you do?
Yeah, I don't know why. Yeah, I personally don't know why he'd want to stay there. Like Carl said, it's just you may as well try to see what you can get because it'll look your front office will look absolutely horrible if you lose him in free agency, you get him for nothing. You lose him for nothing at all. And I think they're going to have a really bad season next year. There's not a bunch of moves. They're not going to go sign a big free agent. Like I'd be very surprised if, like, let's say it's not going to happen. Let's say they go and sign Kyle Lowry. Where does that put you? Or Spencer Dick, because I think there was an article about.
They said
I forgot about Spencer.
He's interested in joining Bradley Beal.
That's true. And there may be some situations out there, but I think you benefit more from trying to develop and start something young and try to see where that takes you, instead of trying to come back and build this. Because even if you get Dinwiddie, are you building a contender? Like, how many years do you expect them to be really good? If let's say you bring in Dinwiddie. Like, where does that? Yeah, and is it sufficient enough to make Beal happy for him to just want to re-sign and stay another year? I really don't think so. And I think Wes Unseld Jr. is like a first-time head coach too. So I honestly don't know. We'll see how it works out. We'll see what happens. I'm big, I think we all agree. I'm big on just trading out Beal and seeing what you can get out there for him on the market. Everybody would want to take Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal he's a top 5 shooting guard in this league. He's one of the best scorers in the NBA. Not too many dudes can say, I averaged 30 points in back-to-back seasons in the NBA. Yeah. That's like elite level stuff. So
you just said that. I think that's really why he wants to stay. Like, he wants to keep, because I don't think he knows in the back of his head, I'm not going to go to another team where I'm going to get this many shots and keep scoring 30. So some people like scoring 30, even though sometimes they don't win. But I also think he might want to stay to get credit and be like, yeah, when we sucked, I stuck through it. And, we made the playoffs. And potentially I got far with this team. You never know where they can go. So I think that's how he's thinking. Like, if I can get the right pieces through the draft, or if they can build around me the right way, it's going to be hard because I don't think they have like a ton of draft picks to do stuff like that. But if they keep being bad, they can. So,
yeah.
So matter of fact, they gonna have them draft picks then. How about that?
That's a hell of a point because that's a hell of a point because I think I'm not bad if I cut you off, Blake.
Oh no, I was just reiterating what Carl said that they would be bad.
We'll be bad for a couple of years, but I mean, I think you said like I definitely think there's a lot of pressure on players right now to stick with you see Giannis winning. I think Giannis winning that championship to me is one of the more influential championships in a minute because I think a lot of guys are going to take that route now. Yeah. Where it's like I'm going to stick with my guys and see what we can build and maybe 3 or 4 seasons or whatever. So yeah, 100% that could be a factor too. I don't think it's I want to stay here and get as many shots as possible. No, I think he wants to win, but he may be like in that Damian Lillard or who did I just say? Damian Lillard or Giannis type of range, type of player where he wants to stick with his team and see what the front office can build around him. So it definitely could be that type of situation. That's a very, very good point. That's a very good point, actually. He could be that type of dude. And that helps your legacy so much. Like you talk about, you talk about Giannis. This one championship helps his legacy. So I hear people saying, and I don't agree with it, but I hear people saying he's a top 10 player of all time. I'm not agreeing with it, but it makes people it really changes how you're perceived as a player. So same thing with Dame. If Dame's able to stick with Portland and get a championship team with them, and win one, like what is it? How does that So yeah.
You're right. I don't know. I like watching. I like watching Dame more than Giannis because I like watching people that can, just light it up and shoot from half court. That's something crazy about that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah. Giannis winning probably had a lot to do with him still saying that probably made it even worse for fans asking why he don't want to leave because he saw what Giannis did and he think he can probably do the same thing, especially him having the ability to shoot like he can. Yeah. So I think it's the standpoint of him just getting a lot of credibility from making a team that sucked like good and getting credibility and maybe even winning somewhere down the line.
Yeah. I mean, the difference between Giannis and a Dame or a Brad Beal is that they actually have competent front offices that actually build a good team around him. So I mean, when you're looking at a Dame or a Brad Beal, it's like, okay, I get you're loyal, but look at the team you have around you.
Mm,
And like in a span of 5 years, do I really see myself winning with this team?
yeah.
That's the biggest difference between them and a Giannis.
Mm.
If you compare
Yeah, Dame.
Beal's teams and Dame teams to Giannis's teams, it's night and
Yeah,
day.
Dame got more of a chance than Bradley Beal. Though Bradley Beal,
Yeah.
that team ain't terrible. Like they have, obviously they
It
have
ain't
much
good
more. They
either.
have talent on the team. But
Are the Wizards a horribly ran team? Because I'm trying to think here.
yes.
Are there things that the Wizards have done? I'm really trying to think. There was the John Wall Westbrook trade was weird. Now, honestly, given that John Wall in hindsight, John Wall wasn't healthy. Let's say John Wall would have been there last season, they weren't going to make the playoffs. Where they did make the
Oh
playoffs,
no, it would have
yeah,
been
where they
worse.
did where they did make the playoffs. So it's not a totally incompetent front office, but I do think with what they have right now and just the type of situation they're in, where you have a guy who's like a pending free agent, it's going to be tough to attract, another, star level player in free agency. Like that's just not going to happen. So that's definitely another good point. Does Washington have a confident or not confident? Does Washington have a competent enough, front office to be able to make the right moves around Bradley Beal? So we'll see how it happens. But to me, biggest storyline out of it all for Washington is getting Kyle Kuzma, and I'd really like to see his development.